Alright, so today we're talking about absolute value. Our goal for this section or this standard is the student will be able to solve absolute value equations, but before we get into that, we need to understand what absolute value is. So first off, absolute value is the distance between a number and zero. And absolute value symbols are these orange vertical symbols that you see right here. They're just vertical lines, They're just two big vertical lines, and that is what symbolizes absolute value. So the absolute value of 3 we're going to talk about to kind of give us a good idea about the distance between numbers and 0. So if you look at 3 and negative 3, if we're trying to get from 0 to positive 3, obviously I'm going to move 1, 2, 3 spaces. So my distance is 3. And if I'm trying to get to negative 3, I would have to move 1, 2, 3 spaces. So again, my distance here is still 3. So no matter if I'm moving in a positive or a negative direction, my absolute value will always be positive. So the absolute value of 3 is positive 3. The absolute value of negative 3 is also positive 3 because it talks about the distance between that number and 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at finding the absolute values of numbers. Before we get into that, though, the absolute value will always be a positive number. So whatever you see inside the absolute value symbols, know that your outcome is going to be positive. So the absolute value of 4 is going to be positive 4 because it's 4 spaces away from 0. The absolute value of negative 5 is positive 5 because, again, it is 5 spaces away from 0. The absolute value of negative 1/2 is positive 1/2 because it's half a space away from 0. The absolute value of 5.6 is 5.6 because it is that far away from 0. And the absolute value of 0 is 0 because it's no distance from itself, it's just 0. In the next set of examples, we're going to insert less than, greater than, or equal to signs to make each statement true. So I have the absolute value of 0, and I have 2. Well, if we look back at example 5, the absolute value of 0 is 0. So I know that this is 0 and this is 2. And 0 is less than 2. So this would be my answer. For the second example, I have the absolute value of 5 and 5. And again, if I look back up here, I know that the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. And 5 is equal to 5. So an equal sign would make that statement true. Then I have the absolute value of negative 7, which is going to be positive 7. And the absolute value of 6, which is positive 6. I know that 7 is larger than 6, so I need a greater than symbol. And that would make that statement true. All right, guys, that was our brief introduction into what absolute value is.